around the world's biggest Christmas tree. They're doing a Santa Claus boogie. Santa Claus boogie. It's a Santa Claus boogie. Santa Claus boogie. You gotta take some time to believe in Santa Claus.
Ho, ho, ho. The Boob Tube Boys wishes you a Merry Christmas wherever you are. And I don't know any better way that we can do that other than playing the Tractor's big hit, Santa Claus Boogie. Something like that, Van. Merry Christmas, Van.
Thank you. Merry Christmas to you as well.
Merry Christmas Eve, Brian.
Oh, thanks. Jingle, jingle, jingle.
I wanted to go backwards there. Like, you know, it's usually Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Oh, well,
Mine was Merry
Boxing
Christmas.
Day.
Sure, yeah, let's
You
go back.
went way back. That's like February.
No, I went
isn't it?
forward. That's December 26th.
Oh,
I couldn't remember if it was the day after or before, but I'm going to start celebrating Boxing Day.
Happy Labor Day.
Well, now you're just getting nuts.
As a podcast, why don't we make Boxing Day kind of our thing?
I like that.
Great. We could have a holiday. We could have a special episode.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Well, see, I get confused because Halloween has that thing they do the day after that's really cool, that Day of the Dead thing. And that's Boxing Day is just like that.
Dia
It's
de
like
los Boxing.
it's right after Christmas. I think the cooler holidays are the ones we don't celebrate that are after the holidays that we do celebrate. Something to think about.
Mm-hmm. Chew on that, listener.
Exactly.
Boxing Day.
For now, we're going to think about the show I picked out and my part of our 3-part Christmas special that the Boob Tube Boys does. Mine, of course, was Everybody Loves Raymond. So we're going to be talking about that today and whether or not that's true, whether everybody loves Raymond or if the title is a little misleading. I teasered this episode last time, but I will go into it again. This is season 5, episode 11, Christmas Present, which aired way back in the year of our Lord, 2000. 2000 is only 1 year after we weren't sure what was going to happen in Y2K, essentially.
Very beginning of the millennium.
Yeah. 12/11/2000. So the synopsis for this one, once again, Ray buys Deborah an elaborate Christmas present in the hope that she will consequently let him go on a golfing weekend, but he hasn't anticipated the present she's getting him. This is a Christmas episode, but okay, so Bones didn't really do this either. So far in our 2 Christmas episodes, we don't get a lot of the Christmas spirit. So it's not traditionally a Christmas episode. I think that's probably okay because Van's that he's going to do next week is enough Christmas for all of us.
Yeah,
Sure
it's
is.
the only one of the 3 that is like, what do you want, Christmas? I'm going to shove it down your throat.
And then like a Christmas within a Christmas sort of
Yeah.
thing. And so yeah,
It's
we're
real
gonna
meta.
we're gonna get all of our mean out of the way now, and then that is done after this one.
Boy, a lot of mean.
A lot of mean, lot of mean, but that's what the show does, right, Brian? I mean, you're
Oh, yeah.
very familiar with Everybody Loves Raymond, and it's mean.
It is very mean. I chose this initially back episodes 99 and 101 because we had our 100th episode special about Jim Belushi.
Right in the middle.
Yeah, the whole thing with Everybody Loves Raymond, as someone who watched it as a kid, is that it's a family of people who don't know how to express emotions properly and are very shitty to one another all the time.
So this really is a good microcosm of the
Yeah.
show, this episode, because I didn't necessarily get that the first 2 we covered.
Well,
Now I do.
I'll touch on that a little bit. We did get it a lot in the first one.
Yeah, with Frank and his
with
whole
Frank
thing.
and Marie, and that was, ambitious, but didn't necessarily work. The second one is way later in the show's run, and it does lighten up on the episodes that are, diversion episodes that aren't like plot-centric, that are kind of like, we're going to have a little fun here.
Our second one was all Ray and Robert doing their thing.
Yeah, and I think, to your point, Van, I think we all liked that episode better when we initially covered the show, the one where Robert thinks he's a model.
Because this one is nasty.
Yeah,
this one is mean.
This one is nasty in a way that, we're going to get into this, I sometimes do like.
I think my problem with it, and I guess this is better end of episode conversation, but
that's-
whatever.
Yeah, that's true. By the way, if you want to hear about what the history of Everybody Loves Raymond, episode 99 is where to do that. Now is where Van talks about how this show's bad.
It's nasty. I think if they didn't have like a laugh track or a studio audience, whatever it may be, laughing at the jokes, or if Raymond wasn't kind of supposed to be charming or whatever,
Yeah.
like if there was no music or crowd sounds and it was flat silence in the background, I like this show much better because it is a nasty drama in that regard.
It's mean.
But this is supposed to be, I'm charming and cute, and yeah, I do mean things, but you love me. And I don't like that one fucking bit.
But I don't think it is supposed to be that. I think it partially is. I think the packaging of it on ABC with the laugh track, to your point, absolutely gives it like almost an absurdist feel sometimes of like, why are they laughing? We talked about this with the Frank and Marie thing last time. There are certain scenes, again, because the supporting cast here is pretty stacked, also where, like we saw with the Frank and Marie episode,
Yeah.
the gravity will feel too much for a show like this. So it's like, we're going to, I think, come across some of the same problems we did last time of where there's stuff I really admire about what the show's trying to do. It just doesn't always work at all.
It does remind me a lot of the first episode. We talked about how the whole last part of it was a Frank and Marie play almost. This same thing happens between Deborah and Ray in this one.
That's
that
a
whole
really good
last
point,
half
the
of the
back
episode
half.
is just them dialoguing with each other in the kitchen this time. And whereas Frank and Marie were in their bedroom and he was ripping her makeup off or whatever. It's a lot like that.
How did I must have blocked that from my mind because that was disturbing.
Very
Just
disturbing.
bashing her face in with a washcloth.
There are a lot of disturbing just concepts in the way everyone treats each other in this. But yeah, it's a lot like that. The whole second half is all that dialogue in the kitchen.
If it was black and white and it had no laugh track and like fucking Tennessee Williams did it, I would love this shit. But the way it's presented to me pisses me off.
Let's get right into it so we can see at what point you started getting angry.
He was right around now.
I can tell you too, like I was worried I'd have to talk about characters we didn't. They're not going to happen. The kids make a very brief appearance. And then other than that, it's just the four, right? It's just Frank, Marie, Robert, and Deborah.
Yeah, the kids like run downstairs so they can be told to run upstairs.
That's
Like,
it.
See, they're real. They're on this show.
That's the only things we've got going on this episode. It's very straightforward, pretty easy to take notes on. I picked a good one for myself in that regard. So again, it is Christmas. The show makes that clear right away from the very beginning with an exterior shot of the house with the fancy lights. It's what a sitcom will tell you every family, every good American family does in Christmas. There's also festive decorations inside, which we see immediately when we go in. It's very pretty. Everything's all Deborah's doing, I'm sure, as we discover soon. Deborah does everything. And this actually opens without Ray. It's Deborah and Robert admiring the new tie that
Is that the giant thing that comes in the door? Robert?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's whatever he is.
Looked like a house came in the house.
The Deborah and Robert are admiring this new hideous tie that she's getting Ray as a Christmas present.
It is hideous, too.
It's an ugly Christmas tie. I think it'd be great to give someone as a joke, but
You know you're supposed to give shoes.
that's the best gift of all.
Yeah, check out patreon.com/Boo2Inc. where you can listen to our most recent bonus episode where we discuss shoes.
It sets the stage for all the Christmas stuff we're talking about. You'll figure out how I got my Santa's Boogie song if you listen to that episode.
And it's free.
But you could pay us.
You can pay us a lot of money.
It's the
That's
Christmas
fine.
season.
Yeah, giving and all
Give
that.
us your money.
Give us some shoes. Size 13 here. What are you, 14,
13.
Spencer?
I'm just 11, just a
You
puny little
pathetic
11.
Little 11.
And while they're discussing this hideous tie, the man of the hour, Ray Barone, walks in the front door. And while this happens, we have the little comedic thing where Deborah has to hide the tie that she doesn't want him seeing, while Robert effectively shields him from being able to see anything at all by smothering him with a giant hug.
Believable.
There's a big oak tree.
What can you see around him?
Mm-mm.
The big dumb brothers discuss their upcoming golf plans. And this is actually a huge part of the episode coming up here. So this little dialogue between them sets the stage for everything they're getting ready to have to deal with the rest of the way, which is they've got a Myrtle Beach golf plan coming up. It's a 3-day weekend. It's a big trip. Robert, when he's talking to Ray about it and how excited he is, come to find out, Ray has not actually gotten the approval from Deborah yet.
Wonk, wonk, ball and chain.
Like 30-35% of Everybody Loves Raymond plots involve golf. I should mention that.
That seems a little lazy.
He's a man.
Yeah, there's so many
Sports.
cliches. So many cliches in this episode is maybe the worst thing about it for me.
You know, my initial thought here when they mentioned the golf weekend or whatever was that this really shouldn't be a big deal. You know, just
You would
one
think,
weekend
yeah.
here and there. But then I did have to think that they have like 5 kids. And so everything is a big deal.
Well, and you also have seen 3 episodes at least of the show, but 3 recently, and you never actually see these fucking kids. They're not really on the show, so to you, you're like, I don't get the big deal. Deborah could just hang out alone. Oh, yeah, the kids.
Yeah.
I seriously kind of had that same reaction because the kids are so tossed off, it's hard to believe they exist.
It also just immediately begs the question. I know it's who Ray is, but it begs the question from the get-go of why are you not just telling her the situation and seeing what she says? Which is, of course, the entire crux of it all is that Ray won't do that.
Because he's a weaselly little non-conflict guy, which we saw, in our last episodes.
Turns out not that little either.
No. Good-sized guy. Just no Brad Garrett.
So Ray is convinced that there's no point to ask Deborah until he sets it up just right with a series of manipulative events that are disguised as kindness towards Deborah, which I think probably is immediately triggering Van in the sense that we're leading off with that right out of the gate on the Christmas episode.
Stupid. Just ask.
This is, however, kind of what this show does that a lot of these sitcoms, for better or for worse, don't do, which is its characters will do things that I could see someone testifying about in court. Like, in terms of, like, they're so manipulative and, like, dirty and gross in a way that, you know, usually you see a character kind of, the machinations are a little more on the surface. Everybody Loves Raymond. It's more like, I'm going to manipulate this person who I allegedly love, which, again, in a sitcom setting in the 90s and 2000s, is strange and off-putting, but it is different.
And it really is mostly just Ray and his parents that have that nasty nature. Robert doesn't. Robert's kind of more innocent about it.
Big.
And it comes up in this scene, actually. That's one of the main things in the scene is that Ray is clearly working this angle, and Robert's just like, I just want to play golf. I'm really excited. Why can't we just do this like a standard way? Ray's like, no, you don't understand. You're too big. I've got to get her the best Christmas present you've ever heard of, and she'll be so impressed and so pleased that I can do whatever I want from that point.
It's 2000, so probably a Tamagotchi.
Maybe a PlayStation 2. Did they just come out?
In 2001, I think.
Yeah, it was a little that would have been really cool to get someone that at this point, I think.
Maybe a flight to the World Trade Center.
Oh, man.
Oh, God. Oh, shit.
So Deborah comes downstairs. She's on her way to go pick up the kids or do one of her busy housewife duties. And Ray tries to do a little snooping. It's very underhanded. He's like, oh, what's the prettiest girl in the world want for Christmas? And she's like, well, I don't know what she wants, but I could just use a crock pot. I'm a busy mom and I need something to help make dinner faster.
Got to pot all my Crocs.
Yeah, so that's the first idea, which Robert, when Deborah leaves, Robert's like, so that's where you're going to get her is a crock pot? And Ray's like, I am way ahead of you. I am going to get her the crock pot. The crock pot was the starting point, and I'm going to build from that, Robert. So trust me, I've got this figured out. But they discover here it might be easier if he at least can kind of compare what Deborah's getting him. Just so happens Robert has that information.
Yeah. Also, I feel I should add that Raymond specifically says he needs a gift that will turn Deborah all goopy. All you need is an exploded Santa to get that job done.
Yeah.
It'd be the goop on that girl.
Exactly.
I feel like Deborah would be appalled by all of that Bones part. Like,
I know. Deborah might watch Bones.
That's true.
I guess she's into it. That's like exciting and
maybe
new
her guilty pleasure. She needs that sometimes.
Well, take one look at fucking David Boreanaz, and she's like, I'm stuck with Ray Romano.
This is a show for me.
Ray does actually get Robert to cross over to the dark side here. Just a little bit of pleading, like, you want to play golf, right? Tell me what she's getting me. So Robert is pretty sure that tie, that a hideous tie, which doesn't really make sense, but Robert believes that is the gift that Ray's getting. And he's like, I think you got this easy. She's just getting you a nasty tie.
And in reality, you would probably think, has she, which I assume the answer is no, ever in a relationship got me something that cheap?
Small and stupid. Yeah. But at this point, they're both just like, holy shit, this is going to be the easiest thing ever. We're going to have that golfing trip.
And this show also seems to believe they live in a universe where you only give one gift.
Yeah.
You can, do you like get a couple things?
Well, that's Ray's whole big secret. He's like, what if two?
The part that I liked about this scene was that Brad Garrett did have a really nice time demonstrating Robert's dilemma here of like, should I be true to the Christmas spirit or should I go on board with Ray's conniving little horrible plots here to try to ruin everything to get what he wants?
Brad Garrett's first little glance at Raymond whenever Raymond says like, what's up, beautiful, to Deborah, also really well done. Like, it's a very like, this is not going to work kind of look.
I've got a pickles here, and then I'm just going to move right into the next scene.
I'm glad you pickles this. This is like the crux
it's
of the
super
episode.
short.
You know, I feel a little dirty. I like it.
Really turns me on, Raymond.
What a dilemma for poor Brad Garrett.
Robert's on board, the plan's in motion, and that's good because the next scene, Christmas, is full on here. It's just arrived.
Ray also has a line here that I think sums up his whole approach, which is, I'll get her something really great. I'll make her feel like crap, which is his approach to marriage.
This is where the children make their customary 5-second appearance, actually, in this scene here. before they're sent to their rooms to test out, as Ray says, their new pajamas to see if they work.
I think they're being abused and like locked in their rooms.
Well, presumably this is Christmas Day.
yeah.
They just open their presents and he's like, put on your pajamas and go get in bed.
And this also doesn't happen. Like your parents make you hang out with your weird family members all
Yeah.
day.
They get mad if you're in your room.
Yeah.
I like how they use obviously they've made the kids open all their presents and they're done. So they use the kids' gift opening as like the appetizer for their actual adult gift giving part. So that's just weird. You do it all together as a family.
You do it
typically.
all together and you are forced to watch your grandparents open a cooking appliance and you don't care.
Feigned love for it.
Yeah,
Oh, this is so wonderful.
This is really cool. I want to go open my baseball cards.
So now it's time for the big present swap, the things that actually matter, not just whatever they gave the kids. Marie, first of many passive-aggressive insults here in this episode, in this case, the sweater that Deborah got her. And I will say the running gag here with Frank, which is that he can't read any of the names on the gifts correctly, leads to an example of Frank and Marie bickering in a way that only they can.
Frank, put your glasses on. You're blind.
And what would be the upside of seeing you more clearly?
Nice.
You're a hag.
Marie's first burn on Deborah about this sweater is, did you get it from Massapequa or did you get it from the city?
Well, because she's trying to find out where to return it.
She's also like, I think commenting on, did you get it from just like here, from like Long Island, or did you go into New York City and actually get me something good? Too, because it's like said really judgy. Marie's a dick though. I think she's good in this episode. She has a couple of really nice moments, but Doris Roberts is a good actor though.
And by really nice moments, you mean evil moments that she does well.
Purely evil moments.
So it's time for Deborah to open Ray's present, which is a crock pot. And honestly, she's perfectly pleased about it. Like this crock pot thing, which was the
What I wanted.
baseline
Yeah.
move for Ray before all the other stuff happened, was perfectly good for her. She's happy.
Is crockpot still around?
Oh, yeah. You can get slow cookers.
Oh, slow cookers, yes, but crockpot.
I think they're around, but people just get slow cookers.
I call them like interchangeably because I grew up in the crock pot era. But yeah, I
Or
mean,
like Band-Aid. You know, it's a bandage, but you just call it a Band-Aid.
yeah, like I cook a stew in a Band-Aid.
Yeah, correct.
some people
Or a
like
crock
to,
pot, one of the two. You call it either one.
some people like to call, like there's the soda and pop
Mhm.
argument there. Some people just say every soda is a Coke.
Coke.
Yeah.
I
That's
want
a
a
Southerner
Coke.
thing.
I don't like it.
What do you say?
I mean, I say a soda, but if it's a Coke, it's a Coke. Like, let's not insult Coke by saying any nasty soda could be a Coke. That's misleading at best and a little bit disingenuous at
Yeah,
worst.
let's not just willy-nilly say everything's as good as Coke.
I mean, I don't care about Coke. So
Yeah,
I
you're
don't
not a
follow
Coke guy.
that.
You're a Pepsi and,
I'm a
and
Pepsi
sweet
man.
tea guy.
It's like the video game.
You're a lapsed Pepsi.
Yeah, I don't do it anymore. What do you say?
Coke's great, but I say soda.
Yeah, soda as well.
Yeah, I think everybody does.
I mean,
not
from
really.
around
I mean,
here.
Yeah.
most people
I
say
think
so.
pop is
There's a lot
not
of
in
pop here.
this. No, I don't know if I've heard
I
it in
hear
this
pop.
region. Is that southern or northern? It's something.
I think that's like, Wisconsin. I
Yeah,
think.
it's northern,
you're
isn't
going to
it?
get a pap? Oh, who wants a pap?
When you say it that way, you kind of do.
Here it's more like kind of a, you want any sugar juice?
Put it in my veins.
So now we've gotten the crock pot slow cooker out of the way. Now is Ray's pièce de résistance, which is the stealing the golf deal, by the way. And it's a whole fucking Cuisinart cookware set. They really show that brand, by the way. It's like, I think maybe Cuisinart had a little say in that. I do have a couple of pots by Cuisinart, and it's good.
They're pretty good. They last.
Good products.
I think all of my kitchen things were given to me by different people.
By
over the
Rachel
years.
Ray.
Rachel Ray being one of them, Emerald Lagasse. You know what he said when he gave it to me?
Was it BAM?
No, he said, here you go.
Oh, that makes more sense.
I thought he would say
Well,
bam.
he realized that kind of got old 20 years ago. So he was
Mhm.
like, I'm not going to do that.
Do you know why I did the BAM thing?
Because he watched
This
the
is
Flintstones a lot.
No, because he said people watch cooking shows and get bored or tired, as they often would, and so to wake them up, he'd go, BAM! And that would wake them up.
That simple, huh?
And then they were so scared they learned his recipe just like that. They're like, holy shit, this guy's awesome.
You know what else they did is they gave him a sitcom on like CBS that only lasted 6 episodes.
I don't
Called
doubt
Emerald.
that at all.
I was going to cover it at one point.
I think he would wear thin on you pretty quick.
BAM!
Did you ever listen to his podcast? It was just called BAM, and it was him and Bam Margera from Jackass.
And what do they talk about?
I don't know, but wouldn't that be something if that existed?
Oh, so you mean it doesn't exist?
No.
So I use the tomato sauce here. Well, I run into things.
I jump off things into tomato sauce.
BAM!
So Deborah is beyond thrilled at the cookware set, actually, and I really felt the energy through the screen.
Me too. I'm glad you pointed that out, Patricia Heaton.
I was happy for her. She's
really
like,
good in this scene, and I thought she was kind of not doing anything in some of our last episodes.
Yeah, she didn't get much time to shine. But here she's just thrilled to death, and she's having a good Christmas. But God bless her, she's having a great Christmas in the Barone household, which is probably not very common. But she is so excited about this. Marie has a little more passive-aggressive mother-in-law stuff that she utters underneath her breath besides that. And then Frank is reading off another gift label. This one's from Deborah to a Normo, which Robert's kind of like, okay, Dad, yeah, it doesn't say that.
It's pretty good.
And then Frank says, but you knew who I was talking about,
Yeah.
right? This was funny.
Yeah.
So Robert opens, a Normo opens his gift only to discover, what have we got here, guys? The tie from the beginning of the episode. Shit. You know what that means? That means Ray is not getting the tie. The brothers have realized this, and they're staring at each other open-mouthed. Neither one of them saying a word as Deborah's laughing expectantly, like, ha, I had to lie to you because you saw the tie, but it's for you, Robert. Isn't this funny? And Ray and Robert are like, oh God, what's coming next?
And Robert doesn't fucking say thank you
Not a
once,
word.
and that
Not
pisses
at all.
me off.
Yeah, I noticed that same thing. And then the whole time, we don't know it yet, the best gift you could get a person in 2000 is about to be unveiled.
Tamagotchi.
It's a big fucking deal. And they're afraid of this exact thing going to happen once they realize the tie was for Robert and their plan is foiled. We don't have to wait long because Deborah just gets up right away, comes back from wherever she hid this giant box, and we find out
Behind Robert.
we find out the gift, the cream of the crop, the thing every one of us wanted in 2000, a DVD player.
Oh, fuck yeah. Just seeing the box, man.
The best kind of DVD player, too, according to Deborah.
I think it was a Magnavox or something. It was definitely an older brand, but I could feel the nostalgia kick in when I
wanted
saw
it.
It looked good.
I am currently shopping for Blu-ray players. I've decided to take my physical media thing and seriously with stuff I watch too.
I want to do it,
Very
but
gradually.
I don't want to have all the DVDs.
Yeah, I like being surrounded by dumb shit for some reason. I'm something of a media pack rat, so I'm interested in doing this now. And the fact that I'm kind of passively shopping for a Blu-ray player while seeing this episode made it extra like I just wanted to open the present for myself.
There's also, by the way, that was a great touch, a handful of DVDs that are wrapped separately, like, oh, and I got you some movies.
I wanted to see what they were.
But more than anything, and there was no way to tell. I tried.
It was probably Jurassic Park 3.
Fuck,
Die Hard 2. They were
all the
in
Christmas
there.
movies.
Yeah, Tin Cup, because golf.
Oh, yeah.
So Ray and Robert are completely stunned, speechless, realizing that this is actually a really cool gift. Like, Ray is thrilled, but can't show any of that because all he's seeing right now is, I'm not going to be able to
He knows
golf.
he's beaten and never could have won.
Even though, of course, it doesn't mean he can't golf. In Ray's brain, he's like, fuck, I lost my game that I made up here, and that means I lost golf.
Because he's fucked up in the head.
So the golf plans for them, yes, they're in serious jeopardy. Deborah actually is just still riding on cloud nine. She's super excited about her pots, which she says she's going to leave and go try out right now in the kitchen.
Normal.
Marie chases after her with more passive-aggressive mother-in-law stuff, something about them not being magic pots. And then Ray and Robert just stare at each other in shock. And we cut to a commercial.
What do you think it was for?
The commercial?
Yeah.
Probably a Magnavox DVD player.
Jurassic Park 3.
What? So this is December of 2000. They're probably like, when's this election gonna be decided? Hanging chads.
Yeah. Florida. Oh, wait, that's every election.
Yeah, that's everything. Oh, Florida got involved.
You know what's in Florida? Gators.
Mhm.
You know what happens when you give a gator a couple of crawdads? No, I'm not going to do it.
You know, if you put a little Zatarans in a bog or something, any gator could turn into a leatherhead. Did you know that?
I didn't, but I know it now. I mean, who doesn't love red beans and rice?
After a cut, Ray and Robert are discussing this ugly aftermath. And Robert suggests, well, I can just hang myself with this world's tackiest noose, referring to the tie, his horrible Christmas tie. Ray says, honestly, this whole thing is your fault. You're the one who thought this stupid tie was for me when it was for you. And the whole time, Frank is settled into his evil chair with his evil Santa hat on, cackling evilly at his two boys and is like, you guys are you guys are fucking stupid. He knows exactly what's going on, exactly what Ray's trying to do. And he's like, these are rookie moves, rookie mistakes. I'm way ahead of you. He then lectures Ray that trying to use gifts to soften women up is for suckers. And then tells us a thing that honestly, we all already knew about Frank a long time ago.
Not for me. I don't do that nice crap.
That is for sure, Frank. Frank, you did not do anything nice at all. Understandably confused, Robert says, like, well, okay, so you don't do anything nice. How does that help you? What do you get out of this? And Frank says, well, I don't need any. The exact phrasing is, how do you get what you want? Frank says, well, I've learned to live without.
This is good.
Pretty funny.
And it punches back on Frank, and it also is it lines up with Ray, who, like, won't just talk to his wife about what he wants in life or whatever. It's like this series of games, and in his own different way, because his personality's different, Frank has chosen just to simply not even engage with Marie on that level.
He lets the hate flow through him.
Yeah, he'll just have a miserable life instead.
Real Palpatine type.
You put a hood on Frank, and
Sure.
he is Emperor Palpatine.
I bet they get along, too.
At the
They
very
have
least.
similar ideas.
This Death Star you got's pretty fucking cool. You gonna blow up anybody planets?
This Darth Plagueis the Wise was crap.
This isn't actually helpful to Ray, because like Ryan said, it's just not how he thinks of things. And Robert really is not following any of this. So the two of them, they just continue to bicker about this unfavorable outcome. Frank shuts him up and he says, look, honestly, there's a bigger issue here and it's right in front of you guys and you're not seeing it, which is you are focusing on your offense. You should be playing defense. Why did Deborah get you the DVD player? She is doing what you were trying to do to her and you don't even see it.
Because clearly, if you're awful, everyone else is awful.
Which
Frank's
is
MO.
their worldview. And Frank, I like that the whole scene he says DVD thing. He does not say DVD because he's an old man.
The whole thing I didn't even get into that they got some technology jokes with the parents. Marie does not know what a DVD player is.
That
Is that
comes
a
up later
hi-fi?
and it's good.
It's the best thing in the episode.
She gets her first line in here where she just doesn't know what it is, and then later she makes a guess as to what it is. They don't know anything about what this new fancy technology is, but they get the premise, or at least Frank gets the premise of like what you're going for, and you got beaten at it. So on cue, here comes Deborah with a tray of hot chocolate for everyone. She's still acting suspiciously in Ray's mind. She's just being suspiciously nice and cheerful, almost as if it's a family holiday and she's in a good mood. And now Ray's kind of starting to believe Frank. She's like, holy shit, she's being super nice. She got me an awesome present. She brought me hot chocolate. I'm thinking she is up to something, thanks to Frank's fatherly advice.
Mm-hmm. This is an ongoing thing, too, that both Robert and Ray are very susceptible to their parents just convincing them of a thing. Because they're babies. They're just grown baby men.
That's most of the jokes about Ray especially.
Ray
It's
especially
like, I'm a
is
boy.
coddled, and they go so extreme. Again, I like this because I feel like, I was going to probably save this for later, but as opposed to a show like Home Improvement, that's just the one I keep citing because we watched it recently and I hate it. But Tim Allen, we're supposed to really be on his side all the time, and he's a big manly hero, and Ray Romano is a weaselly piece of shit a lot of the time and very transparently on the show. Now, I don't know if people always would take it that way.
I don't think so, because I don't think a show like that succeeds in that era.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's pretty obvious he's not supposed to be very masculine or like self-sufficient.
I think he definitely is well on his way, and later, of course, fully. He's on his way, at least in this episode, maybe not the whole show, to being the villain.
Yeah.
So they've painted him as like he's clearly doing something stupid when Deborah very well could be completely innocent.
And even part of his argument as to why he thinks Deborah's up to something, he's like, I fucking suck as a husband and father. Why would anyone get me a gift?
So Robert seems to be just making peace with the golf plans being done as he sips his hot chocolate and says goodbye to Myrtle Beach. But at this point, Ray is fully latched on to the idea that Frank put in his head and is absolutely convinced Deborah is up to something. So Frank's thought is, well, maybe she's trying to fuck that hot bag boy at that, which I guess is a local grocery store they go to. Ray doesn't really pay any attention to this and asks, what do women want? None of our three heroes have any idea.
Only Mel Gibson. I stole it from you.
Got it. Sniped it.
It's worth noting, too, that Frank will not let go of the hot bag boy idea right away.
Okay.
He does have a follow-up. Have you seen him?
No, I don't think he ever shows up. But this is, I'm about to do my thing. What do we think about Frank's hatred of Marie partially being because he has a long, dormant, hidden sexuality he's never revealed, and he resents Marie for being with him, even though he's never revealed his true love of bag boys.
Or possibly Marie had an affair with the bag boy at
Could
some
be
point.
that too.
Yeah, there's possibly something.
Because he brings this bag boy up like a couple of times.
Something is simmering. Lots of somethings are simmering in Frank's head that he's kept there for decades. There's no question.
All bag boy shaped.
Peter Boyle's one of the better sitters we've ever talked about on Boob Two Boys. He
sits good.
Mounds himself in that chair like an evil frog.
It is very evil. And the fact that even this scene before he starts with his, I got wisdom to dispense on you, Ray and Robert, hand me the chocolates.
He was in a lot of like greasy crime type movies in the 70s. And when he's doing this, like, you got it all wrong, you were playing defense, it made me realize I would like to just go watch those.
Yeah, those would be fun.
I bet he's great.
So at this point, Ray storms into the kitchen. He's ready to get to the bottom of this mystery, but is briefly, admittedly, distracted by licking the chocolate batter off the mixer that Marie offers him. That's the joke about him being a boy, because he's got a thought like, I need to solve this adult problem with my wife. Oh, chocolate batter, lick that off.
Yeah, I'd do that.
We got that. Sure. It's a lazy sitcom trope.
Mm-hmm.
When Deborah continues being cheerful, despite him kind of coming in here and being like, hey, what's going on? Ray finally does just lose it entirely and comes right out and says, what is with you today?
And it's pretty fucked up.
It is.
Like how he continually is getting meaner and meaner when she won't break being nice and happy.
Which I almost was going to submit that as a clip because it struck me as an incredibly pivotal moment where he's just going to be like, I'm horrible. Why are you being nice? What the fuck? And then it just wasn't a big deal. Deborah's like, I don't know. It's Christmas and I'm in a good mood. So she completely deflects this, which I thought it was a lot like the thing where Michael Scott freaks out at Toby and then turns out to be just kind of funny and no one cares. It's like that here. I thought it was going to be a big deal, but it's not yet.
And if it really wasn't a big deal, like if the next 3 minutes don't happen, I think that's a cool story that could have been done well. But then they instead decide they need to ruin Deborah with this whole
things are about to get
minutes.
darker.
Yeah,
and it's this enraged me. I was so pissed off when they did this to her, and I don't like it.
So Ray, when he hears that Deborah is honestly just straightforward, I'm in a good mood, it's Christmas, I'm happy, Ray is super confused about this and doesn't get it. We get a look at Marie, who they're kind of sharing a glance Deborah doesn't see, and it's clear Marie shares Ray's opinion, which is like, why would someone just be nice? Like, why would they just be in a good mood? They are on board together with what is up with Deborah, but Deborah is still saying, like, I'm fine. So Ray, what do you want? Why'd you come here in the kitchen then? Because I'm just in a good mood. I'm doing my thing. So what do you want? Marie says, well, probably walnuts and the brownies, which again, Ray's like, no, Mom, I'm having a conversation. Yes, I do want walnuts and the brownies.
Also,
He's a boy.
please leave the fucking kitchen. We're arguing.
She won't leave the kitchen. And this is
She never really does.
Pretty spot on.
for the whole series. She never leaves anyone's presence unless made, essentially. She loves being in on the gossip.
So now, and I marked down the time this happens because now this is the rest of the episode. It's 12 minutes in where Ray decides to say what he should have said at the very beginning of the episode.
Yeah, could have just started the episode this way.
The remaining 10 minutes will now be Ray coming out with it and he and Deborah talking about the aftermath. It's the rest of it is like that play aspect I was talking about with Frank and Marie from the last time. So he just says, look, there is something I want. I want to go on this golfing trip with the boys in Myrtle Beach. It's a 3-day stay, and I just really want to go. You can tell as he said it, he's testing the waters. He thinks like, okay, I can't get her to break. This will do it.
Yeah, he's basically like, there's no way she'll say yes to this, and he's saying it mean at her.
He's not just going into it like he should have in a calm, like, hey, I was thinking about doing this. He's like, fine, you know what? There is something I want. I'm doing this, expecting her to break character and be like, no, I won't let you. I was doing all this other stuff because I had an agenda. But in fact, still, it does not break Deborah's cheerfulness. And she thinks about it. And she does say like, well, 3 days with just me and the kids, that would be kind of tough. She chews on it for a little bit and Ray waits for her to turn him down, but she doesn't. She just says, yeah, you know what? Go ahead and go. And then Ray demands to know, why are you being so agreeable in this agitated physical state? He sloshes the chocolate from the mixer all over Deborah's face. The chocolate, by the way, is going to play a huge role for the episode's remaining 10 minutes.
It got the and billing credit at the start of the episode.
It's like the sour balls in that growing pains episode. At some point, it kind of takes over and becomes a character. So Deborah is shocked at not only Ray freaking out at her, but getting the chocolate on her face. And she does have to stop to wipe her face off and then ask Ray, exactly what his problem is. So Ray reiterates his question from earlier, which is, why are you doing this? Why are you making Christmas so awesome? Why are you so happy? Why'd you get me that incredible gift? And why are you letting me do anything I want? What's going on? So Deborah actually, for a little bit, she thinks, oh, he's just worried that we spent too much money on the DVD player. He's like, this is a reasonable thing.
And that would kind of make it make more sense, because what did they cost in 2000? Because
$200, I would think.
Yeah, at least.
I think, Spencer, you and I got them in 2001.
Yeah.
And they were a lot.
Yeah, I actually wasn't one of the first ones on the scene, and yeah, they were pretty expensive.
Well, I got a PlayStation 2. That's what my DVD player was, and I think that was $300 when it came out, and that was primarily a game system, so I think it'd be at least a few hundred.
And they are supposed to be middle class, I'm assuming. Like they're not doing like super well.
They're supposed to be like doing fine.
Fine, yeah. So initially Deborah's like, oh, he's just worried about the price. No big deal. But no, that's not what it is. Ray says, I do want to know the cost to me. And Marie gets another joke about not understanding technology, which is kind of what Brian was talking about earlier, where she asks, what is a DVD player? Is it porn? Is it a porn machine? And Deborah's really fed up with Marie at this point because she won't leave the kitchen, and she is continuing to kind of budge in their conversation. And she says, like, yes, Marie, it is porn. I got him a porn machine for Christmas.
I bought my husband a pornography machine.
Marie says, I disapprove of that, and goes back to baking.
Marie says, I don't like that, Deborah. And that made me laugh even harder than her saying the "is it pornography" line. It's really well read because she believes it. She's just so firmly that she's like, well, I guess there's nothing I can do about it.
Better get back to cooking.
And she just right back to her brownies that she's making in the corner of the room as they argue. At this point, Deborah realizes Ray is convinced everything she's done has been a lie today, which really hurts her feelings quite a bit. It breaks her Christmas spirit on the spot, as I observed in my notes.
As it should, because he's fucking awful.
It is a lot. Ray's done quite a bit of, I would say, the wrong thing in this episode so far. He has no idea to respond now that he's learned he has ruined everything and that everything she was doing was sincere. So he just says, oh, well, thanks for the DVD player and being great. I'm going to go set it up and I'm going to go watch some movies.
Jurassic Park 3.
Because he's such a fucking weasel. Even now, he can't turn and be like, oh, man, I fucked up.
Yeah,
like,
I'm sorry.
Doesn't know how.
No.
Emotions. Can't do it. He's a boy. This is just the beginning of Deborah's epiphanies, though, because like not only has she realized what he was doing this whole time, but she's got some other thoughts, which is like, hey, you got me the cookware because of golfing.
Yeah, she figured out the master plan. Real quick, I'd like to add that even Marie is mad at Ray and quickly takes all of the walnuts out of the brownie tray. I thought that was funny. Visually, to see her scramble real fast to like, my son's disappointed me that I'm still going to make brownies for him, but they won't be exactly how he wants.
I'll make it a little off.
Yeah.
Ray denies everything. And yeah, Deborah's not fooled. And yes, Marie piles on as well at that. She's like, you can't do that, Ray. And does try to punish him through brownies, which I guess is the only way. Food, like giving or taking away, is Marie's idea of discipline.
And hovering.
Deborah just flat out kicks Marie out from the kitchen. She's like, look, I need to talk to my husband privately. Get out of here. So Marie leaves. We later learn not very far, but she does leave the room dismissively before, of course, returning the walnuts back to the brownie tray to now get back at Deborah, I presume.
Because Deborah had the nerve to say, why is my husband's mom in the corner of the kitchen while I talk to him?
So the rest of this here is for the most part, horribly cliche husband and wife sitcom fight with Deborah accusing Ray of all sorts of things just to get something in return. A really cringeworthy one was like, you only kiss because you want to fuck.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like that is coming out of their mouth.
Gotta say, if she'd phrased it like that on ABC, though, I'd be like, whoa, okay. Put this thing on HBO with the Frank and Marie show where they sit in bed and talk about how they've wasted their lives.
As her makeup runs down her face. So Ray is clueless and stupid about all of this and doesn't know why she's so worked up. And that's his response to the whole thing. And Deborah says, and the worst of it, not even like what you've done and how you wouldn't believe that I was being sincere. You actually thought that I was trying to do what you do. And you thought I was trying to manipulate you by giving you nice things. And I'm not like that. I'm not evil like you are. Ray says, I don't think you're manipulative. I think you're pretty. And then
God, what a dipshit.
That gets a bunch of chocolate thrown at him. And the chocolate, by the way, he tries to wipe some of it off, mostly unsuccessfully. There's chocolate on his face and his shirt the rest of this episode. It just stays there. Ray suggests, having realized that he's made Deborah very mad, that look, honestly, this is getting out of hand. Our fight is starting to take over. I'm just not going to do the golf. I'll just skip it entirely. And Deborah says, is that even your primary concern by now? After all this is what you're focusing on. And Ray says, look, it's not me. And he gets a little callback joke here. It's Robert. He's going to hang himself if we don't do the golf. Deborah is done with the whole thing at this point. She says, look, I'm just going to go back to chopping my vegetables. Just go on your golfing trip. I told you could. I don't care. Just do it and leave me alone. There is a slight twist, though, in the couple's conventional argument where it becomes less conventional and makes Van very mad, where Ray accidentally hits on something that Deborah eventually decides is true, which is, you know what? She's taking on all of these tasks and letting Ray do whatever, even though it kind of makes her life impossible on purpose, because she feels superior to others when she is doing more than she can and no one else is doing enough.
My problem is if he just accused her of this shit and then she was like, you're a monster, get out of my life, or get out of the room at least.
I like the first one.
Get out of my life.
At the end of their marriage in this episode.
Show's over. Okay, that's great. That's wonderful. But he basically gaslights her into believing this. And she says, no, you're right. I'm horrible that I've done that. And this, it bothers me so much.
Initially, she actually laughs. She's like, because of course, Ray's stupid. So he's telling her what she is, but he can't think of the word. And she's like, what, you mean like a martyr? Which, by the way, I think she got it wrong. It's martyr. It's how it's spelled. You say it like that.
The level of martyrdom he's describing, everyone has done at some point or another.
I can absolutely relate to it.
It's pretty low level of like, you're in a relationship for a long time, you feel put upon, and you're like, I'm not going to do anything. You know, now you wouldn't do it the whole relationship. It might be a day or while you're going through a thing. But like, it's pretty fast and loose for one person to be like, you are chronically like this or whatever, and the other person to accept it.
And also it's your fault. Like you were at blame.
And you are at blame for this problem, which you obviously, he just spent the whole last 10 minutes being like, I'm a terrible husband. Why would you do something nice for me? So, you know, he's complicit and should know this. But one thing that I guess like I do like is what happens soon, which is it does at least backfire on Ray.
Sure. Well,
that helps.
Initially, Ray stands by his observations. She says, look, you're stammering. You know I'm right. And then he goes in for the kill, which is, if you're not someone who does things just to punish yourself so you can feel superior, why did you get me a DVD player when you know I have a problem watching too much TV and not helping out around the house?
A man who watches too much TV and won't help around the house?
This is a staggering realization to Deborah, though, when he brings that point up, and she has to sit down because it's like, oh my God, Ray, he's completely right. She thinks about it, she processes it for a minute, and when she speaks again, she actually, as we've been alluding to, finds herself agreeing with Ray. She's like, you know what? There isn't any reason I would get you that gift. I was trying to punish myself. And Ray says, yeah, you're sick. You have problems. And she's like, I do. She's at that point is completely convinced. Yes, I'm fucked up. I did this to us. And honestly, I'm not going to do it anymore. That's kind of her conclusion to all this, is there isn't any reason why I should take so much work on. And then immediately decides, I've been up all day working on Christmas stuff. I've been up since 5. I'm going to take a nap and I'm going to start offloading some of my shit onto you right now. You finish up cooking, or your mom can do it because she wants to anyway. She's a control freak, and you can get the kids washed up and ready for dinner or whatever.
And Ray acts like this is the end of the world on his face.
He's taken aback immediately.
You actually think about it and it's like, shouldn't any father just be able
normal
to do that
stuff.
whenever?
You should be helping.
Normal stuff, everyday stuff, basically. Yeah. Ray does say, like, he's stunned, but he's like, yeah, you know what, I will do that. But and then he reminds her, like, but I mean, that I do get to do my golfing thing, right? Like, I don't have any problem helping you out here, but we're going to do what we agreed to, right? And Deborah says, actually, no, that doesn't really fit in with my new lifestyle here. I don't feel like I can handle a 3-day weekend without you, so no golf for you.
So nothing for Ray. All of his many machinations didn't work. And I mean, this one day would take, I'd imagine, 5 to 6 years of couples therapy to undo.
His biggest fear, this whole episode, comes to pass, all because of how he handled this.
His biggest fear, of course, being that he doesn't get to golf.
So he's defeated. He follows Deborah to the stairs to plead his case as she goes up to her nap. And that's when we find Marie is right outside the kitchen. Mm-hmm. She didn't go very far at all. She was eavesdropping the whole time. And he says, what are you doing there? Dusting. And
She uses her sleeve
Yeah, to
to
just
wipe the
casually
door
doing
frame.
it. So
That's another good Marie touch right there.
as usual, she's just all up in people's shit when she's not asked to do so.
Yeah.
There's another
that.
thing in this scene that I think is really kind of lazy on the writer's part, where they can't figure out what Deborah might want. Ray's trying to offer at one point, like, well, if I go golf, like, you should get to do something too. What if you, and so Ray gets a 3-day out of town golf weekend, and he's like, what if you go to a movie one afternoon? And then later, what she gets is a nap. Like the show's like, what do women like? It has a little bit of that feel to me. Like it just can't figure out what this Deborah character might want that's equivalent to that.
I'm assuming that they don't really dive that deep into Deborah's character often in the show where we would even know what she would want to do with her free
She has
time.
a really developed personality, which
Yeah.
I think comes through, but like her interests really don't. And a lot of it, I mean, stuff like this is brought up that she is kind of sequestered at home dealing with everything. They almost get divorced at one point, which is brought up, I think, in our Robert modeling episode.
Yeah, I think that's what we said, is because we played psychiatrist or whatever at the end of the episode.
Right.
We have one final scene here, which is a little bonus Frank and Marie action. And it's a contrast, actually, because normally, what I've seen is normally Frank and Marie causing the tension, and Ray and Deborah are more just kind of neutral or fine with each other. And this one, since all the tension has come from Ray and Deborah, it's actually Frank and Marie that get a nice Christmas moment privately. So Frank gives her a little gift of some sort, and Marie says, "What's this? You already gave me lottery tickets."
That was pretty funny.
Yeah, I liked it. And Frank says, those are a bust. Open this. And they're nice earrings. They're fancy, I guess, nice, expensive earrings. And Marie is very pleased. I think she knows that she's not supposed to be too pleased because it's something Frank gave her. And
they're around other people.
And Frank says, "Hey, come here. Now that you've gotten those, you don't tell a fucking person I did that for you." And that's it. Since this is a Christmas episode, I'm going to say that's a wrap.
Oh,
Get it?
WRAP.
Because
Wow.
presents.
Oh.
Yeah, and
That's pretty good.
That was a present too for all of us, right, Van? You
What a
loved it.
delight
You
it
had
was.
such a good time. You didn't like how at the end he convinced her that she didn't want to do anything to get at other people.
Well, I like that the comeuppance happened. She realizes, you're right, I have been doing this, so now I'm going to take things and do things right. I like that. It reverts right back to their normal relationship.
Yeah.
Next episode, not just because it's a TV show, but because this is a terrible relationship.
It is terrible.
I kind of like that concept, but I still don't like that she was in the wrong in a way. They paint her in the wrong.
They kind of share the responsibility.
She's not. She is 0% of this responsibility.
The only thing she did in this episode that I didn't like is when she has this big epiphany, she realizes like, I shouldn't do all this. She does go back on what she just told him this whole time. You can do the golf trip. I mean, she should have at least been like, yeah, you can do that. But after this point, we're talking about all this stuff a lot better. I guess maybe they wanted her to get a petty thing in. I don't know, because Ray was super petty the whole episode. So maybe that was only fair.
Do they paint her as petty at any other point in the show?
Yeah.
They do.
But it is always pretty baked in from the start of the show. This couple's been together a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like already kind of a wall built. They already operate halfway as a business that just is a family.
They're stuck with the kids. They just have to do it.
Right. And then, I actually do like sometimes, and I think we did see one of these, they will have genuinely nice little conversations in bed that feel very platonic.
Yeah.
But you can see a little bit of chemistry between the actors there. And they do that a little bit to offset it. But again, this is the thing with this show for me, where I just like a lot of the stuff it does, but I don't like the show.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Like, it just doesn't, it's not funny enough. It was funny more, I think, this episode than
Little
the 2 we
throwaway
covered
lines
before.
really hit their mark in this one. And I think there were elements of it that were good. They just touched on too many, like, okay, that's an obvious sitcom line with their big fight at the end. It fell short. The Frank and Marie thing from the episode we covered last time was better in that regard.
It was, because I think if you're going to go that dark, you don't need to proceed it with broad generalizations about like men liked and women liked.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't do that and then be like, actually, I'm going to gaslight you into that you've been a martyr and that's why you did something nice for me. Like you can't go that deep into the psyche after going that light on it.
I will say I did, and you guys already mentioned some of the parts you liked about that, but I thought Frank and Marie, since they didn't take center stage in this one, were just flawless.
Yeah, they're great.
And their side roles. They really added a lot to it. I was sad we didn't get a little more Robert. Robert was
Me too.
This is ironic, he played a very small part in this episode. So that was my big takeaway after finishing this, is I wish we'd had more of Robert. but Frank and Marie were the stars for me. Ray and Deborah's stuff was hit or miss. Mostly miss, honestly. Like that was they could have done a much better job with that, and I think it did bring the quality of the episode down to where it couldn't have been like an all-time Everyone Loves Raymond, which I'm sure there are some.
I don't know what those are.
It's not this one. I mean, it was pretty standard Christmassy at the end of it, honestly.
My big problem is that through all this, these people are villains, and when we watch Seinfeld, we know these people are villains. They don't really present it that way overall, or maybe they do, it just didn't register that way for me.
I took it as Ray was in this one.
Yeah.
Overall, probably not.
I think overall, everybody kind of is, however, only halfway, like you said, Van, because I think the writing and most of the acting is close to there in terms of making sure we know these are diabolical people. I think that the dressings and the aesthetics, I don't even care if this is network mandated or not. They gussy the thing up, though, to where it's really kind of disconcerting.
It can be.
The seriousness and kind of bitingness that the show can have. And then 2 seconds later, it's like a really generalized, like, Lockhorn's comic joke. And it's piano music and it's the laugh track.
It is. It's jarring. There's a lot of elements that don't fit well together. It has a few parts that land quite well.
And I also think the kind of mixed elements make it really hard to know intent in some moments of the show too. Like some moments that I might give credit to and Van finds suspicious, who even knows? Because like the elements you're seeing in the scene don't add up.
There's a lot of the parts are different from the sum of the show. The show as a whole, I like some of the parts. I don't like the sum. Some of the character traits, the parts are great. Mm-hmm. But then when you look at the character as a whole, the sum is not, it doesn't fit.
Yeah.
It's just off.
I will say I don't really find anything good about Ray at all. I like the other characters a lot more. And not just because, like, Frank's an awful person, but a great character. Ray
the actor's charming.
Yes, Ray seems just like bad character, bad guy, bad everything. There's nothing good about Ray in or outside of the context of the show.
And I think it doesn't have to be that way at all, but if you're casting Ray Romano, who hadn't been an actor at all up to that point, this is probably what you do in the Jerry Seinfeld way. If you have good character actors who are more fleshed out characters. But the flip side of this is I also suspect these actors, because the supporting cast is really good, and I think they elevate some stuff that isn't as good as what they're making it. Just from their line readings, facial expressions. There was a time when actors this good wouldn't be on sitcoms all the time.
I think it's time to transition to a more cheerful Christmas. Van, do you have something in mind for us here? Maybe with sweaters or angels or water pipes bursting?
If this was too much spite, do you have anything for me that is devoid of any kind of spite or kind of negativity?
I might have just the thing for you, my friend.
Is it from what era is it
from?
A
long time ago.
Not recent.
Not recent.
The year 2000 when DVD players were exciting.
No, in fact, I don't think a DVD had even been thought about at this point. They still had... What media did they even use back then? 1956 is the year we're discussing. What do they have? Cassette tapes?
No.
8 tracks?
I think you just kind
Records?
of looked.
I think you turned on your radio and you made some eggnog.
Listen to the big band sound of the 50s.
You might turn on your radio and listen to this.
Because we're covering Father Knows Best, Season 3, Episode 15, The Angel's Sweater. And that's ownership. It's the Angel's sweater.
The angel possesses this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Or does she? Does she want it?
We'll find out. This one's interesting because basically Aunt Neva is coming to town. And guess what? Nobody fucking likes Aunt Neva.
Is that why this is interesting?
No. All the family, they really don't like Aunt Neva. And we find out why shortly. Particularly our little bulldozer Kathy.
Oh, I missed her.
Doesn't get along with Aunt Neva. Why? Well, I don't know. You just have to tune in next week to find out. And there's a whole thing with an immigrant. And there's a whole thing with a story within a story. And then everybody's happy, just like every episode of Father Knows Best.
We're going to have a very good time, I think. We haven't recorded it yet, but you're going to want to listen to this thing.
And I mean, our original 2 Father Knows Best episodes, which were Spencer's episodes way back when, were awesome. I think those podcast episodes were great. They're some of my personal favorites, and hopefully next week turns out that way as well.
We're getting close to wrapping up our Christmas Bonanza event of 2023. I will say a few things real quickly if you enjoyed this, if you've never listened to us before, or if you have and you just never made it this far, or whatever the case, we've got other content out there you should check out. Go to our website, bootuinc.com. That's boot with a U, INC.com. We have a bunch of stuff there. We've got some blog posts. We've got, most importantly, links to other things you can find of us. We've got a Discord group you can join. You can leave us a review on your platform of choice, whatever podcast you listen to, probably Apple. Go there, give us 5 stars. We'll do stuff for you.
Tattoos of Kathy.
Yeah,
and
become your butler.
Anything you want. Honestly, just give us that sweet 5-star review. You can also go to patreon.com/Bootu Inc. for bonus content, which we just recently added to. It's freely available to everyone. You can throw us a few bucks along the way if you'd like to help us upgrade our studios for the holiday season and beyond.
I bet you were reading on the website when you went to Bootu Inc. Might mean you read books, too, and if you do, you should go to Goodreads and you should find Loud Guitar Brian. See what I've read. Tell me what you're reading. Let's share books together.
And lastly, we are slowly migrating our content to YouTube. It's a long process because we have a lot of episodes, so it's going to be a process for a while, but we have a bunch over there. You can go there, you can give us a thumbs up and
Or
subscribe.
you can be like everybody else and thumbs down the second the episode starts. I really think what it is people are stupid and they see, I should just insult the people watching our stuff. They see episode ? Columbo, and they think they're going to watch an episode of Columbo.
Oh,
And
yeah.
when podcasts start, they go, downvote.
Instead.
Downvote.
I've also wondered if it's this. Recently, it's been kind of mandatory for podcasters to have video, and it's just an audio. We do an audio thing with the logo. It's just for listening. We're not into the whole. Yeah, I won't denigrate anyone.
I will, because nobody edits those fucking video podcasts. They sound bad. They look bad because most of the people aren't actual performers, and it's just stupid. So
And this isn't everyone, but a lot of people in those positions are very self-conscious when they're on video too, and aren't able to perhaps deliver the podcast performance they would be able to otherwise.
Oh,
Sure.
well, put a nice little bow on that and make it less awful, like I was saying.
But I would be one of those
I
people.
would.
Oh, yeah.
If
Yeah.
I knew I was on video, I would talk half the amount I talk now. We should do video.
Yeah, it's mostly just so we have our content in other places if that's your kind of thing. So
Right.
you can go there and check that out too. We're all over the place, and I'm just saying there's no reason for you to listen to this and think, well, I've gotten enough of BoobTube Boys. We're everywhere. So
I am
just keep
sated.
There is
looking.
no enough.
On that note, let's wrap this up with our favorite Christmas moment of our lives.
I got a GameCube for Christmas one year, and it was fucking awesome because I did not expect to get a GameCube, but I didn't have any games or memory cards, so I had to wait a while to play it, but it was pretty awesome.
I'm going to save mine for last, so you go next.
I've had a lot of good ones, but I just want to share this other one
Sure.
instead, which is one year Mandy and I, my sister, AKJ 519 of listenership fame, both asked for desks for Christmas, like cool kids would.
How old were you?
I don't know, probably like 10 or something.
Okay.
So we both got our desks, and our father was not very mechanically inclined, just as I'm not, and nailed a nail into his hand
Oh,
and had to go to the ER.
Merry
I can see
Christmas.
how that's a good memory for you.
Well, it's a thing I remember.
Yeah.
Well, mine, this is going to surprise you guys. You'll be like, I didn't know this about you. This one time, my aunt came to visit, and I didn't like her. So I had to go to some sort of weird German village, and I had to learn a lesson
are of
about
German
what.
descent.
It's true. It was my hometown. I had a pretzel when I was there, Bavarian pretzel. And I learned a lesson about what the greatest Christmas gift of all
Oh,
is.
what is it? Tell me.
Well, so I'm kind of confused. It could be a sweater. It could be love, or it
Do I have
could
to find
be.
it on my own?
Well, the good news is that's what we're doing next week.